Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Today's webinar will be about creating concept design in Clip Studio Paint, presented by Angela Sung.
Hey.
Before we begin the webinar, there are some housekeeping items that we'd like to go through. The webinar will be approximately 1 hour long. All attendees will be muted. Question and answer session will be during the last 15 minutes of the webinar. Attendees can ask questions in the GoToWebinar question box right away. Due to time constraints, not all questions will be answered. The webinar will be recorded. The recording will be shared on social media and will be sent via email to all registrants and attendees. The panelists for this webinar are Mario Quiñones, myself, Joanna Brower, and Angela Sun. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time or have never heard about Clip Studio Paint, Clip Studio Paint is your all-in-one solution for stunning, ready-to-publish illustrations, comics, manga, and animations. Learn more at clipstudio.net/n and graphicsly.com. And with that, we'd like to pass the reins of the webinar to Angela and her presentation, Creating Concept Design in Clip Studio Paint. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name's Angela. First of all, thanks for attending. I know there's people from different parts of the world, so some of you guys might be in morning, some of you guys might be in the middle of the night. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this talk, and I hope you gain something out of it. I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Angela Sung, and I've had experience as an art director, a visual development artist, background designer, and a background painter. I started my career in the gaming industry, but I moved to animation after that. And I've been working for almost 10 years, but let's just say 10. Let's just round it up a little bit. And here are some of the companies I've worked for. I learned a lot working for these companies, and yeah, it was a really great experience. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about how I approach creating an image and the steps that I take to come up with the final illustration or the feeling that I want to convey. So I like to ask myself a lot of questions. I talk to myself all the time. So I think for you guys, when you guys begin an image, maybe if you feel a little bit stuck, you can try this approach. I'm not saying it's right, but see if it works for you. So whenever I'm doing like a study or even a piece for work, I oftentimes ask myself like, is there something that speaks to me or of a location that reminds me of this moment in this production and then I dig through my photo references and I try to find those images that speak to me about a specific moment I'm trying to create, whether it's like something that feels anxious, right? Or something that feels happy. I think back to locations I've traveled, photos I've taken, and I go through Google search too to find these images. Once I find those images that speak to me, I then ask myself the second question: what is it about the image that is appealing to me? So is it the colors or is it the shape languages? What is it that's helping me feel like these moments are suitable for the image I'm trying to create and design? The third one is, how do I exaggerate the emotions I'm trying to convey? Again, trying different things is really important in my opinion. So maybe one day you want to use gouache painting, one day you switch over to clip. I think being able to switch between programs and different mediums is extremely important because it teaches you a different set of like tools and solutions. So I feel like, especially for traditional paintings, it has taught me limitations, but those limitations have taught me to be like extremely creative with solutions when it comes to image making. And then the last questions that I like to ask myself is, are there any like additional elements that I can add to pump in some storytelling moments? So maybe it's like an alleyway shot and it looks really dead and boring, but I try to use like colors and lines to enhance it. like maybe if I added like a cat on a trash can or someone walking through it, those can have like significant impacts on how your image is, like what the message is to the audience. So try to think about these things and maybe see if it works for you. The next few slides that I'm going to be showing you guys is basically some images that my friends sent to me. So this one is from my friend Kelsey. I have been to San Francisco, and every single time I'm looking for a photo to paint as reference for work or just to do a study of, I'm always looking for like really interesting shapes. So I put this one in because it's pretty complex and it's an urban scene. What I really liked about it is look at these really cool shadow shapes. They're kind of like similar shape languages. And I often look for this to see if there's a good way to organize it. On top of that, I've noticed that there's like a lot of rectangles. So if I were to approach this painting, I would think about organization of shapes and the contrast between them to help me have like a clear hierarchy of what I want the audience to see. So maybe because the shadow shapes are slightly more complex here, and then there's more contrast, I'm able to use the shape design language of the shadows to make the buildings the focal point and everything else like accent ideas within this image. So this, if I were to approach this, it wouldn't necessarily be about the colors, because I think when you're also designing or creating an image, you should have like this hierarchy of what you want to convey, right? So maybe it's like the contrast shape idea. The second layer could be like maybe these round trees, and then the last layer could be color. So if you put everything on maximum volume, nothing will stand out. So that's another thing that you guys can think about moving forward. Like, is there a way to organize things so when the audience looks at an image, they could immediately see like this importance of design and they can remember your image right away. Oh, okay. So this is near the dentist I go to. I'm super afraid of dentists. So when I walked out and I saw this, it was like really gorgeous lighting and the drawings on the wall were really silly. So it made me feel a sense of relief. I don't know why. I'm like, I don't know why I'm so afraid of dentists, but this helped me feel a lot better. So I remembered this specific moment. So I wanted to capture it, and hopefully one day I'll be able to paint it. This is a little bit more complex, but for this instance, I think I would focus on the lighting because the lighting and color would be my main approach for this painting because, like I said, I felt really relieved after, and I feel like this type of lighting helps me convey that emotion. Then the colors are also really playful, which I think helped me relax. So every time I'm choosing a specific image, I'm also trying to think about what it made me feel in that specific time. So this is like one of those moments that if an audience saw the painting, I would want them to feel the same way that I do, or at least feel something from it. This is another one from Kelsey, and I think for this one, I would prioritize the cast shadows because they kind of have like similar shape language too, but I would want to focus on like the chaos against like simplicity surrounding it. So then I would really help the audience focus on that area of the painting. And then I know this area gets kind of complex because of the fonts and our eyes are naturally drawn to it, but I would just simplify it and make it into blocks. So I don't think I would focus on the color for this one. Like even food, I mean, who doesn't love food, right, guys? We all love eating. So I just remembered how delicious this tasted. The crab was so fresh. So if I were to try to approach this, I would convey the feeling of like, I don't know, I would probably make this crab more shiny and probably enhance the colors because when you take photos, oftentimes they condense the colors and the values. So I think this one I would try to really push the colors and also exaggerate like the shininess of the crab. I think this was when I was in Shanghai, I took this picture and I was like, oh, dude, this is like so scary, man. I wonder what happens there. So I think if I were to approach it, it would definitely be story-based, and I would make everything feel more creepy. I think I could use colors to do that. So yeah, see, each time I'm like trying to look at a photo, I'm trying to break down everything and trying to figure out like how I would do it. And I'm sorry if it seems like I'm rambling, but I'm just trying to tell you guys my process for each of these. And this one's in Taiwan, and I really love the shapes of it. So this would definitely be shape focused. And I painted this for my plein air ball a few weeks ago or a week ago. And this was my first plein air ball of the year, and I wanted to show you guys the before and after. So when I went to Barcelona, it was so cold, but the architecture was really warm. So I felt like, because I remembered how I felt in this image, and I want the audience to feel like this place is really beautiful, but kind of cold. What can I do about it? So then I kind of exaggerated the perspective. I pumped up the colors, and I made it feel even cooler by adding in like this cold layer of like colors. So if we go back, you could see how everything feels really warm. It feels really overcast, but I chose to push and exaggerate the coolness of this image. And I think that's what's really fun about being an artist, because you have the power to edit and control everything about your painting. So don't feel like you have to stick exactly to how your reference pictures look like. You could have some fun with it, you know? No one's here to tell you what's right or wrong. This one is a really weird composition, but I think I would try to push on the compositional elements. So if you see here, what I saw right away was this thing. It drew my eye in here. Then I have this element. Then the shadow kind of pushed me back in. So I would try to find a way to have these environmental gestures be more obvious, so the viewers can find interest within like the rhythms of the composition. And then I think color would be my secondary idea for this. This is another example. This is a good example of what I mean by like, it could be a cool painting, but is it missing something? So maybe if I were to take this into Clip Studio Paint, I would reference this and try to follow the general feeling and colors, but maybe I can have like someone standing here walking with a grocery bag, or even people up here for like a secondary story telling like a point. So this is what I mean, like too, you should ask yourself, like, is there any way that I can make this more interesting? Or even adding like some letters here to imply the type of location it is. So yeah, that's what I often do for my work at feature animation or like art directing. I try to look for cool images like this, but then see how I can make it even more interesting by applying layers of storytelling to it. This is in Puebla. It was a bar with a tree house, and I just thought it was really cool. Maybe if I were to approach this painting, I would think about how this is after the pandemic and everybody is having a great time. So I'd probably add a few cars on the street and even people like hanging out on the top and in the bar area. So there's just like so many approaches you can do with one single reference. That's what I really enjoy about painting. I also did this for plein air ball, and I often, for this one, I specifically chose to condense the values. So I'll pull that image up right now. I'm sorry, it was with gouache and I was experimenting, so it's kind of difficult, but I chose to enhance the colors here and have this area more shiny so that your eyes could be led down here. So yeah, I'm like actively trying to choose how to make the viewers just focus on this. I struggled with this image a lot, but I think I learned a lot of stuff from this one too. But like, even though I have a reference, it's really important for you guys to kind of add your creative take to each thing. Yeah, so this one's another really good one for lighting. And I would definitely remove this trash can if I were to paint it and really focus on maybe some story moments here. Maybe I could have some cast shadows rather than a person walking to tell a story. And then, well, maybe someone's being chased and then the person they just landed here. But you could see like cast shadows of like monsters chasing the main character. So don't forget about using lighting as a storytelling element too, not just in terms of mood, but also about like the type of environment it's in. So if I were to change the silhouette of the shadows here, it would tell a different story. Like if I made it like a castle silhouette, right? So shadows have a lot of power as well. Japan, maybe I could add a Godzilla in the back, you know, that'd be kind of cool. And Shanghai, I lived there for a few years, so this was a really quiet moment in Shanghai, but if I wanted to make it feel like that location, I would probably add in a lot more cars and maybe some speech bubbles with like honk, because they like to honk at each other a lot. So I took a photo of this thinking that I'd want to convey my experience in Shanghai. So I would purposely make it even more chaotic. And maybe I could add some like headlights somewhere to showcase that there's cars from every single direction. Zion, I love nature. And every single time I see a landscape like this, my mind is just so peaceful. So I would try to enhance the, the, the look of this image by the probably color contrast for sure and value contrast. And I would simplify down here so the viewers would focus up on the top. Oh, this was another plein air ball I did. And when I went to Nice, I kind of liked how all the buildings were not like straight. They looked like they were like sometimes leaning to the left, sometimes leaning to the right. So it looks like some of them are about to fall apart. So I thought that it would be fun if I exaggerated the proportions and play with the design idea. So I really focused on all of these like triangular shapes, kind of here too. I really like to organize my images that way by using shapes and thinking about them in the similar manner to help the audience understand the main theme of the image. Like they might not necessarily know that it's like repeated triangles, but at least it'll look more organized and easier for them to understand. Oh, and this is my awesome wife in Australia. And I painted this, but I didn't drop the finished image in here. But I really wanted to focus on these ripples, but I don't think I did a good job either. But so always ask yourself, what do you want to focus on? Let me pull up this image one more time. So what image speaks to me? Like this spoke to me because of the ripples, right? What is appealing about the image? And it was the ripples again. How do I exaggerate it? I use different colors to kind of push the idea. So although this area is really complex, I put the highest contrast of value and color here. So that helped me exaggerate the location that I wanted the audience to feel on. And the emotion that I felt was like chaos here, organized chaos. So that helped me organize this location even more. And I added a street light up here to make it feel like, I don't know, more romantic, I guess, to spotlight my wife. So those were the kind of thought processes that I went through for each images. And I hope that kind of helps a little bit. But now let's pull up some Clip Studio Paint examples. So I really enjoyed my time in Cuba, and I thought it was really cool how there's like some really beautiful looking buildings that are about to fall apart. I really like this aspect of Cuba where there's like broken down buildings, but then there's stuff that's still standing next to it, and then you have like a really gorgeous car up there. So when I first looked at this image, let me pull up this one more time so I can walk through my process a little bit more. This spoke to me because I thought the proportions were like so cartoony. Like I don't know why it feels like a cartoon, right? The sizes of the windows, like this feels like the scale is like so off, but it's not. And just everything felt like really clumsy and fun to me. So that's what really appealed and spoke to me. And I wanted to exaggerate those emotions by kind of pushing like the wonkiness a little bit. So I made everything kind of slanted, tilted. I sketched this first with some brushes I made, and then I brought them into clip. I think the brush engine kind of had some really nice textures for it. So that was a lot of fun experimenting with the brush engine in Clip Studio. So I used the wonkiness to exaggerate it. And then when I begin painting, I like to establish all of my color relationships. So the way that I approach that is I set a color down in one area. I think the first color I set was this one, this slice right here. And then I keep it pretty simple. I just think about light and dark. I don't think about like, oh, mid-tone, the lightest tone. Just keep it simple for yourself as you're establishing the relationships of your painting. Sorry, I guess I painted this a lot, but see, same here. I focused on the dark and light side of the image and even the local color. So I know the car's red, and I know there's like a lighter red, darker red, and I know this area is black. So I'm trying to keep everything relatively simple at this stage. I felt like when I began painting, it was really hard for me because I had a tendency to render. So maybe if you guys are having trouble with painting, this might be a fun approach for you guys to test out. Then after I have all my pieces masked out, I kind of readjust my color relationships with everything. And I really wanted to use some of the colors to make it feel more cartoony as well. So in this reference image, the colors are already like pretty cheerful and fun. I feel like they're also extremely cartoony, but I wanted to exaggerate the yellows of this a little bit more and the coolness of the stuff in the back. So that's what I did. And then once everything is masked, I like to use clipping mask, which is also available on Clip Studio Paint. I set a flat color, then I slightly offset the colors a little bit so you can see this is cooler, this is warmer. And then I like to use a texture brush to kind of add some noise and interest within that area. So you can see that I'm slowly adding more color variations, some textures to imply noise for the building. And then like I just continue to add more weathering, more detail. So always think about it from big to small. So you start with a big idea, then you chisel each part of that idea until it really fits into the image you want to create. So then kind of went ham with my pencil brush, and then I just like scribbled everywhere. I've been also really inspired by an artist named Kay Bin on Instagram. She's great. You guys should check her out. So like just watching her cool little sketchy strokes, I gotta add it into mine. So that's what I did. And I also kept working on the car a little bit, as you guys can see here. I kind of pushed the proportions. Like this is ordinary and I felt like it was kind of boring. Wanted to make it more fun. So I pushed it back and exaggerated it. Notice all of these too, they're not like extremely straight and technical. I made them kind of like, oh, right? Like kind of wobbly. And yeah, I just kept working on it. Then I found areas where I could add subtle texture. So over here, I cropped it eventually because I felt like this ground and the car were almost the same size. So I felt like it was really boring. So this way, you have more focus on the car and the building rather than like a lot of ground leading into it. So sometimes you can make these artistic choices. Not everything's set in stone. So be really flexible with your process. Sorry, talking too much. Also, I really like having these things where some areas are in shadow and then they pop into light. Then I can create this like really interesting color contrast of temperatures. So maybe you guys can play with that a little bit too. And oh, I didn't drop in the final image in here, but I could pull it up for you guys later. But this is another one that I started. So I don't have the reference image for this. I couldn't find it, so I'm sorry. But what really spoke to me about this image was like also the cartoony and clunky feel of everything. And I wanted to push the toppling feeling even more. So this is also nice. So I really wanted to exaggerate the proportions and the goofiness of it. So I tried to do that by pushing the shapes and the perspective a little bit. And I added my dog in the end for a storytelling moment because I really miss her. um, and this location was really special to me because my wife and I traveled here and it was so empty and quiet. It just felt really peaceful. So I hope she's somewhere peaceful right now. But every time I start, I know painting is a lot about the colors, the values, but please don't forget about your perspective and how things fit in space. So to me, it's really important to always establish at least where the horizon line is and the set different vanishing points. So this one has 2 vanishing points, one over here and one off to the side, which is how you see these lines here. Before I start anything, I think that's the first step I take. Then I kind of sketch everything out loosely. I've been working as a background designer for a long time, so I think keeping it this loose to me helps me prevent my work from looking too stiff. Whoops. And then again, I start by trying to establish the color relationships, just like the first image I showed you. So the image itself had a variety of oranges, but this is another important thing that I feel like I was stuck with when I just started off painting. Remember that although your image is one specific color, there can be a very huge variation in terms of the type of orange it is. So this is probably the warmest orange in my opinion. Then this one. This one's the coolest one. And this was like kind of the in-between, and this is like 3. So try to rank your colors by temperatures. So that way you can have even more variation and make your image feel even more colorful and fun. So once I kind of established that, I started to go in and clip, and I had this really weird stringy rake brush that I wanted to try here. Kind of like the textures it created. I also tried some of the clip default brushes, which is like this one. I don't remember what it's called anymore. I can't find it. But yeah, it was really fun to try it. I was really sad because I like that texture a lot. Um, but yeah, as you can see, I established the big chunks first. So this is the light area. This is the shadow area. And I keep pushing and pushing it more. Another good thing to keep in mind is when you guys are doing a painting, maybe it's beneficial for you to finish one area so you know exactly how far you can push this image, and then use that as a reference point. That's what I always do too, because you don't want to like overwork it. You should know the area that's most complicated in each image, and then kind of go from there. Oh yeah, that's like how do you draw an owl? Just draw a circle and then you have a finished owl. Sorry, I forgot to save some steps in between. But it's just the same thing as earlier, where I'm adding texture, making sure things aren't like too crazy. They're within the value group, following perspective, thinking about how lighting is interacting with all the buildings. So like as you can see, I'm starting to make everything like really wobbly. Even for this, it's like not lining up. And trying to see what else. Like I think this one's a perfect example here. It might look realistic because of the tones and the colors, but the wonkiness makes it feel extremely cartoony. Sorry, drinking some water so I don't cough in your guys' ears. And then I start to add a little bit more detail here. Another good thing to keep in mind as you guys are painting is implying space. You don't only use color, but you can use details. So like the details on this wall here, I really tried to add a lot of cobblestones, so it feels extremely detailed. And as you go back, if you lessen the details, it helps you it helps the viewer understand that like things are fading away too. So you can think about distance with color and also details. Here I'm just trying to pump up the colors more and adjusting the value. So I darken this a lot to help it push it towards the foreground and also help this light area really pop up. And then, so if you see here, it started off really gray, but I wanted to make it feel closer. So I pushed the saturation of it even more. So you could feel like foreground, middle ground, and then background here. Adding more detail, I really liked using break brush to help it feel kind of rich. Like it feels like cross hatching to me. So that was really fun. And then this is the final image. I added some like tree twigs and then small elements. So you have like these big contrasting elements here against these like really fine-tuned details in the front. And then the thicknesses of these sticks here are also varied. I like to think about like small things like that to help push the distance even more. So yeah, those are the steps for these two images. And oh dang, let me try to pull up the other finished piece for the Cuba one. So here we go. This is the final image. Oh, sorry. So I just went from here to here, and I added some of the wires and like people hanging their clothes here, some hats to imply what type of location and like store this is. And I know this was in the photo reference, but keeping this stuff in mind is really important because it makes it feel like a lived-in environment with story and interest and kind of history. So if you guys ever feel like your images are feeling kind of boring, try to add some human touches, whether it's like shoes being like the shoes that you throw over the power lines, or even like wonky bars for the windows. Sorry, I don't know these terms. And then, yeah, I really enjoyed using Clip. Their brush engine is like really great. I also applied a sharpen filter to make my strokes look even more confident because sometimes I'm not. And that helps it look even more sharp. I also added a noise layer. So yeah, that's about it for my steps. Is it okay if we open it up to Q&A for right now?
Sure, we can open it up. By any chance, do you have any of the Clip Studio files with like, I don't even know, do you use like a lot of layers or not? But
Oh, I think I flattened them towards the end. So
okay.
I should have pulled that up. I'm sorry. But I don't have that, but I could see if I can find it and send it to you guys later.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good. Then we'll check that out at a later date. I think that would have been like on how many layers do you usually work?
I don't like to use a lot of layers, so generally speaking, for something like that, I would just have probably one layer that's just the general block. So here, let me show you really quick. So I would just do one layer that's, oh, this is the pencil brush that I was talking about, by the way. So I
Oh,
just
wow.
like block in something and then I just clip it down. So maybe I'll have like one big group, but then I would merge it down as I'm continuing to work. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What's your usual canvas size? Do you work larger or smaller?
So I like to work because I usually like to print my images. So I think like 7,000 by 7,500 by 5,000 at 300 DPI is my favorite.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you print and you offer them online or just in general?
Yeah, I have it in my store. So some of the plain airbrush that I did are on my store already, but that's where I like to drop it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a general question again is like, what's your drawing setup?
Drawing setup, like as in how I have
Computer,
every. Oh,
computer, tablet, if you have anything.
oh, okay. So I have a Cintiq, and then I have an additional monitor, and then the way I set it up is basically I have it like this, and I'm right here, and then this is my Cintiq, and then I'm just like drawing like that.
I think everyone can imagine now.
Yeah, you guys know my setup.
Perfect. Okay, let's see. We've got a few very interesting questions,
Okay.
definitely. How long does it usually take you to work on a piece?
So for plain Airple, it's been super stressful. I finish a piece in between like an hour and 30 minutes to sometimes 6. So I think the Cuba piece that we were looking at took about probably 3-4 hours. And then this niece piece was like worse. So I think this took 8 hours. Yeah, and it's really hard because I think because of Plain Herbal, I was like looking at so many different artists that inspired me. I had to try what they were doing. So it takes a little bit longer when I'm trying to figure out their technique or how they're thinking. So some take longer than the others because I'm doing something that I'm extremely uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We have quite a few questions about your coloring process or choosing colors in general. For example, it's like how do you approach color in terms of you have a reference and then where do you decide, okay, this color needs to be brighter, this color needs to be duller?
Mhm.
Do you pick the colors directly in some cases, or do you try to match them by eye?
Oh,
Um,
like eyedropper?
yeah,
Or
exactly.
okay,
Like, what's your approach there?
I used to use a lot of eyedropper when I started out, and I can completely understand like why people use it. But I feel like it's so difficult to do that for colors because colors are they don't really mean anything by themselves. You have to place them next to each other for them to make sense. So oftentimes, like for this niece painting, I did not eyedrop. I just like to start off with a blue sky.
Hmm.
So once I start that off, I then pick the varieties of oranges and then I see if they work with one another. So that's kind of how I approach color. I don't eye drop, but I think it's important to understand that each color you choose kind of impacts the other. So most of the times, if one color doesn't feel right, it's not necessarily about that one color you chose for over here. It's probably about the colors surrounding it.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I like to think about colors really simply because I don't think I'm too big brain, but um, so you could do this. Just this is a really simple method, and I actually really enjoy the color wheel on Clip.
Hmm.
Joanna also taught me a trick that I will show you guys. And so, like, if you guys think about something like this, right? Can you tell me the differences that you see, Joanna?
Oh, in terms of like brightness or
Or just like the colors themselves?
oh my God. Now
I'm
you're
putting you
putting me
on the
on the
spot. I'm so
spot here.
sorry.
Well, I'm seeing reds and pinks and very bright colors, like from
Yeah.
my understanding.
So, but they're all within the same family, right? So what I was trying to say earlier about like the color temperatures is this is something that like maybe go like, oh my God, I finally understand it. But the variety of oranges, for example, if I have this building right here, and then for example, desaturate it a little bit, cools it down. Do you
Hmm.
see how they're within the same family, but it just adds so much color variation? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so, and then like if I were to imagine this in like a 3D space, right? Like this one obviously pops up to me. Oh,
Yeah.
whoops. Yeah, but um, sorry, I have to switch it. um, and then you could see that this is the warmest. So it's like pulled closer to us visually. This one's visually pulled back to us, and then this one's kind of in the midground.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So think about it like as in warm colors versus like the cooler version of it. So
Mm.
that's how I like to think about colors too, by simplifying it and thinking about like, okay, how is this warm color interacting with its cool sister? Like how can I make it work? So they're kind of siblings, but one's warmer and one's cooler. So think about
Yeah.
it simply like that, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, definitely. That is interesting. Oh my God, that
Yeah.
is very cool. Yeah, I think that was also like one of the things, like, do you have any tips for choosing colors? And I guess that is definitely, I think it's not very easy to understand, like, at first, especially when you're not used to this kind of thinking.
Hmm.
So, like, to me, like, at first when you asked me, it's like, okay, so what am I seeing, you
I
know?
put you on the spot. I'm so sorry.
Like, yeah, it's like really bright colors on a gray background. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and then like once you change the color like of this like background layer color
Mm,
property, right? So
yeah,
let's say like I put it on like a blue or something, like everything, the relationships then change again. So it's really hard
yeah.
to say that there's like a very specific color theory that people should follow. Just kind of trust your gut. And I think another thing that personally really helped me is going outdoors to paint plein air painting. I think traditional really helps you understand painting in terms of like digital stuff too.
Mm,
So if
mm,
you guys are struggling with color, learning how to mix it a little bit and figuring how the colors interact with one another and how the lighting interacts with the world really will help you push your understanding of color, which helps you with mood and lighting, etc.
Okay, so seeing that that's how you use colors and that you're using very few layers, do you make use of any of the layer modes at all?
So you guys might laugh at me, but I'm like so bad at that stuff. I think the only one that I really try is like color dodge, but besides that, I honestly don't really use it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, some artists use like overlays and stuff like that to just make things look more harmonious. It's
Hmm.
like put like an Instagram filter over it, but
Hmm.
you're just doing this all in your head, or and then on the canvas directly.
Yeah, so I just like I think the thing about painting too, what's really cool is as you're painting each one, you're solving a different problem. And once you solve it, it feels really nice. Then you could be like, okay, I remember doing this in X painting, so I could bring that solution over here. So it's not that I'm just like doing it in my head. I actually had to figure it out several times through like plein air painting, mixing colors, and seeing how those like subtle shifts interact with each other to
Mm,
make it feel right. And there's no right or wrong way if you guys prefer to use overlays. I think that's fine. So many people create beautiful images, but also trying to understand the relationships by painting it is a very good practice as well.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
So, like, how much do you train, especially now that you also talked about traditional art and going outside?
Hmm.
Um, how do you make sure you pick the right color?
That's so just oftentimes I don't choose the color right the first time.
Hmm,
I always have to adjust it and it's extremely frustrating. So
hmm,
it's just about asking yourself like how can I make this color feel right? Like do I make the other areas cooler or do I make the other areas warmer or do I shift the hue or do I adjust the saturation?
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
all about like asking yourself questions and being just like curious to all the possible possibilities, I guess.
Very good, very
Yeah.
good. Um, how did you end up with doing a lot of, well, background paintings or just landscapes? A lot of people prefer characters, but you
Oh,
definitely put like a lot of character into your background paintings.
uh-huh.
So
Thank you.
how come you ended up in that area?
So I actually started off doing a lot of portraits and characters. I was
Hmm.
only interested in that, but then I switched over to transportation design because when I was a teenager, I was going through a crisis and I was like, oh my gosh, Angela, character designers, like the jobs are so hard to find. Like, how could you get a job like that? So then I didn't trust myself in doing characters. So I switched over to something that I was less interested in. So
Oh wow.
that's how I got started doing backgrounds. But the more I found drew it and painted them, the more I realized that they're a character within itself. and it's really fun and interesting, and there's just unlimited possibilities with it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I got started in background. It's because I doubted myself from finding a job. So
Oh wow, it's like I was hoping for like a bit more inspiration, but I guess that's also a way to look at things. And I mean,
yeah,
you may definitely got it there. So
thank you.
um we got a questions about like how you apply textures. Is it possible you have like an in-between shot where you can show like your brush strokes a little bit?
Oh, okay. Let's just do this. So I'm gonna fill this with red.
Ooh, wow.
Oh, sorry, it's very, very intense. Let me choose a different color. Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
sorry
always
guys, don't mean to blind you.
it's always astounding
So
how bright things are on a gray background sometimes.
yeah, so I have this brush that I got from Wang Ji's brush set. I think you can find it online,
Hmm.
but it kind of has like this nice like chalky texture. Sorry, I never name my brushes, so I always get lost finding them. Give me 1 second, guys.
Sample
Okay.
brush 5,600.
Yes, 1,005,000. Yeah, exactly. But it's just like this. I block out one shape. I slightly have a, so okay, I'm gonna teach you guys the secret Joanna taught me. Double click this, and then you could just like slightly shift everything by a little bit, and then you could apply your like really nice textures here. And I don't know, I think it's this one. Okay, yes, it's this one. So adding like a little bit of noise and dynamics to it, I think really helps a lot. It doesn't need to be like insane, right? It just has to be really subtle.
Hmm.
So that's what I do. It's nothing like oh there's like a technique behind it. I'm just trying to like make it more visually appealing by adding just a little bit of noise. So it
Hmm.
would be through rake brushes or Kyle's real watercolor. Yeah. So there's just so many ways. Like you have to think about, do you want your texture to be like obvious? So then do I make my edges sharper? Do I add the contrast higher? You could just think about questions like that. So this is
Hmm.
my favorite one. Oh, I found it. Brush sample, 10 million. So, so it's this one here. And then like
Yeah.
just doing that, I feel like it looks like a wall of a place, with
Hmm.
that's kind of old. So
Yeah.
that's how I
Yeah.
would do it.
Yeah. I feel like that brush could like also be a good surface for water or something.
Oh,
Like this looks like a very versatile brush.
yeah, yeah. He uses it for portraits, so
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow, you're smart. I didn't even think about it for water. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's just like, just trying. It's really that's really cool.
Yeah, so just like then if you like shift the temperature, so you could like, I want to add the reflections. And then like then you can compare the like cool versus the warm, right? So
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
yeah, it's really cool like thinking about color simply. So try not to complicate it for yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see what else we have. Um, when you work on a piece for a long time in your job or in general, like, do you do any exercises still to like warm up, or are you just like your paintings are your warm up and you just like go with the flow?
Is this more for like work or for my personal work?
Um, General, just either way, wherever it applies.
Oh, okay. I used to think like I need to warm up, so I need to do like 50 gestures, but I think the more I painted, the more I'm like, I get like just so stressed out about like, especially for plain air pull, right? Like I only have a day to finish it. I'm just like, I got to get on it right away. So
Hmm.
I just go for it and I don't think too much
Yeah.
until I start the painting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We had one question regarding your studio work. It's like because you talked about how you flatten most of your layers.
Hmm.
Um, does this work for you? Or because a lot of people say you need a lot of layers so that in case there are changes that you need to make, it's easier to make the changes.
Hmm.
How do you has that ever happened to you where you're like, oh god damn it, I wish there was a layer that I could just change because of a detail or something?
Yes, short answer, yes, but but yeah, so I like I said, I think generally I like to create a clipping mask. So I keep most of the stuff separate. But like for these plain air bowls, because I know they're not necessarily for production, and my computer's getting really old, so I have flattened it so it doesn't crash my computer. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, at work I do like let's say I have so if I have just like this mountain, for example, I would just lasso it out or have it on a separate layer to begin with, and then just create the clipping mask on top to then paint with it. And then I'll
Oh.
flatten that. And so I'll have like water layer, mountain layer, and sky. Yeah.
Just in case someone wants a round mountain instead of a triangle mountain.
Yeah, they're like, Angela, you don't understand my taste. Change it to round. I'm like, okay.
How did you go about understanding perspective in your paintings? I mean, you talked about the detail in perspective and then colors. I think that's very difficult to understand for some people because we always think like, you know, perspective lines and stuff like that.
Mhm.
How did you what do you recommend for
What I
people who are
recommend
not?
doing. Okay, that's a really good question, and I feel like I'm glad someone asked that because I don't think people ask enough. But when you guys are walking, my best suggestion is like when you're just looking out into the world, just understand that your horizon line is where you're looking. So horizon lines are always going to be the point where the vanishing points connect most of the time, unless there's like a slope or something. So try to dissect like when you're driving a car, try to find the horizon line, pinpoint where the vanishing points are, and see how that horizon line interacts with everything else within space. And then I feel like that's the first step. Once you can identify the horizon line and the relationship it has to everything else around its surrounding, then it makes everything easier. So the way I got better at it was I did a lot of background drawings for animation. The most helpful thing was I went to Shanghai to study with the studio Wolf Smoke Animation, and they really kicked my butt. I remember like redrawing my background like 7 times because it just wasn't right. But I feel like it helped me become like a way better artist, and I'm really thankful for that experience. Yeah, so it just takes a lot of drawing and making mistakes and just trying to figure out how you can get it right. Just be patient with yourself. Perspective is really technical, but once you get it, it becomes a lot easier and less intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of work, do you have like any memories of like a favorite project or a least favorite project for that matter, like where you really struggled like beyond what you just said?
I don't think I have any that like I dislike, but one that really stood out to me was when I was art directing on Kipo. I just think like that crew, like I still hang out with them. I mean, hang out with them online, okay, because there's COVID, but I still like talk to them every day. We're just like best friends, and I feel like I could just tell them everything that goes on with my life. And so I'm super thankful for that experience on Kipo and all the friends I got to make. Um, but for the most difficult job, I would have to say it was like the one in Shanghai because I thought I was doing okay, but having to redraw each file like 8 times or 7 to 8 times is like a little bit frustrating. But like I knew it was for the best. So I think although that was the hardest experience, I feel like I learned the most from it.
What was the problem with those? I mean, it's like, was the perspective of, or was it just like the vision was different?
That's a great question. So it was just my perspective was so bad that my boss was like, draw this over. I'm like, okay, could you tell me what's wrong with it? And then he's like, here, let me do a draw over. And then he was like, okay, this is, I'm like, so he's like, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and that is wrong. And I'm like, okay, so the whole image. He's like, yeah. So I would have to like
Oh
kind of
my
start from
God.
scratch. So
When
yeah.
you when you get to a point like that, it's like, how do you keep motivated to just do it again? I mean, obviously in that part it was your job, so you pretty much probably didn't have a choice. But you know, it's like when you work on a piece for yourself, and you just reach a point where it's like, oh, this is not going where I wanted it to go. To just like leave it and then come back, or just like give up and it disappears
Um,
in the folder.
That's a really good question. So yeah, of course, because it's work, I can't stop on it. But I think the other reason why I'm really thankful for that experience is because sometimes I feel like the best type of leaders are the ones that don't need to tell you that you need to do a good job. And I feel like the owner of Wolf Smoke was like that. It's not like he told me to push myself to that limit, but he made me feel like he did believe in me and he
Hmm.
wanted me to succeed. So that's why he was so hard on me. So I guess just, or maybe I'm being delusional and he didn't care and I was just being hard on myself. But
Aw.
I think just having someone there to like hold you accountable, to kind of give you encouragement and really believe in you, I think that's what kept me going, because
Yeah.
I was really defeated, but I was really thankful that he gave me that, like, that kind of trust
Hmm.
and the ability to redraw it 7 times, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I imagine like that's not a luxury a lot of artists have in like when it comes to deadlines. That
Oh, I mean,
seems.
I finished them within a week, so I turned in
Oh
a
yeah.
draft like really fast, but because this was for a movie and he wanted the layouts to be perfect, I had to like
Um.
be really careful. But it was just for the first few images, and towards the end, he's
Hmm.
like, "Oh, you're doing okay." And there's a funny story for that one because his wife was like, "He said you did okay. That's the best compliment I ever heard him give anyone." So I was like really flattered at that point.
I was just thinking it's like you did okay, and then it's like oh.
Well, he said it in Mandarin, so Kaylee says in that context, it's a really good job. But like,
Yeah.
translating it in my mind in English, I'm just like, Is that a compliment or is that like not?" But she's like, "It's a good thing. It's a good thing." I'm like, "Okay, okay, okay. I trust you."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. Oh my god. I had a different question. Now I forgot about it. God
Oh,
damn it.
sorry.
So about personal projects, do you just like sometimes just give up and just move on to the next one?
So I also have a really bad habit where I get bored super easily. I jump
Mm,
between traditional painting, digital painting, and then like line art.
yeah.
So I think for my personal work, I just try to hop between different subjects to keep
Mhm.
myself like motivated, because it's really hard to just do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. That's why you have like so many different types of images. Like it's all like backgrounds, but they're also very like individual, like very detailed in their own way. It's very interesting from
Yeah.
the one you showed. So
I'm sure when people go on my Instagram, they're like, "What's wrong with this girl?" So,
no. Um, so you have especially in the image you have open right now, is like you have
Mhm,
the car, and the car looks pretty like, let's say like realistic,
mhm,
because like all the lines are quite straight as compared to um the buildings,
mhm.
where you can like see the crooked lines a little bit and like they're not 100% straight and everything. Is this like another way for you to like contrast the thing? I mean, the car is red, so it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
hard.
of course. Like, thanks for noticing that. So, yeah, I wanted to really make the focus this car, so I tried to keep it generally straight, except for like the little detail lines, like this one
Hmm.
here, it's a little bit wobbly, but everything else is relatively straight, and it is to show that contrast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then everything else is like pretty vertical, so this one's like the only like one of the few horizontal objects, so it really
Mm,
helps like highlight this,
yeah.
and also the color contrast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very. Yeah, I'm just looking at all the little details. It's just like, what else can I find?
Yeah, it looks detailed, but it's actually just like color contrast. So
Yeah,
and just texture, like I just scribbled on here. So
yeah.
like even here, right? It's just all scribbles.
Mm,
Yeah.
that is. But
It,
it's just like you can just keep looking and looking and looking. It
oh,
just never
thank you.
goes. Yeah.
Um,
Um.
One more thing though, like I know this is more of about like a painting course, but clip is also extremely good for line art. I'm actually going to try to do some background drawings in there. But if you guys do want to get better at painting, I really do recommend getting better at also drawing the backgrounds, because I think it's just extremely important to kind of understand how objects interact and designing every single thing within the image. So that's just all I wanted to add for that.
Okay, I think you just intimidated everyone in this in this
Oh,
in this
let me close
webinar, because now
that.
we're looking at this picture and I'm pretty sure I saw Godzilla in there. So
Oh, yes, yes, yes. My friend Larry really likes Godzilla, so I keep
yeah,
adding them in, like find the Godzilla. Yeah. So, oh,
that
and
is
then yeah, there's a
crap.
lot of Zoomers I talk to, so it's the Gen Z building.
Oh my god. Oh, This is fantastic. This is
Yeah, I can't wait to try the line art function, and because I really love your pencil brushes.
yeah.
They're
Thank you.
really great. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't make them, but we're happy if you like them. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That is fantastic. Okay, we already are at the time limit, unfortunately. So just as some closing words for people who want to get into concept art or painting backgrounds,
Mhm.
any words of encouragement or a final tip to get people really excited about backgrounds?
Okay. Well, for me, painting always came really hard. I just feel like if you guys truly, really like it, never give up on it and always believe in yourself. Art's extremely difficult, so just be patient, be kind, and you'll eventually figure it out. So just keep going, and I believe in you guys.
That's nice. That's a good. I think that's a good closing statement. And then, thank you so much for bringing us through showing us through your process today. That was really uh, enlightening.
Oh, thank you, Christina. I hope it helped you guys or like anyone. If it helped one person, I'll be happy.
Yes. Mario, do you want to take over from here?
Yes, thank you so much, Joanna. Thank you so much, um, Angela. I'm pretty sure everybody learned a lot today. We are really motivated to start creating amazing illustrations. And thank you all who joined us, who are still with us. And before we go, let me just give you one last bit of information. If you want to learn more about Clip Studio Paint, visit our website clipstudio.net/n and graphicsly.com. And for those of you who are asking, yes, this webinar is being recorded and we'll upload it to our YouTube channel, Clip Studio Paint channel, and also Graphicsly. And
Thanks,
for more
guys.
information about Angela, visit her social media, Angela Bango, Angela Songhart, and angelasong.com. So with that, thank you so much, Angela. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. See
And
you guys.
see you guys. Thank you, Joanna, for all the questions, for the
Thanks,
nice
Joanna. You're the
conversation.
best.
And we hope to see you in our coming events. Please stay tuned on our social media and see you next time.
See
Bye bye.
ya. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.